The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to Hambleton again, everybody. Now this is going to be a very short episode because it's only a small little village. This place used to be a little bit more well known than it is right now. Next to me you can see we've got a major road. That is a road we know very well. That is the A19, and in this particular place it bypasses this village. But it didn't used to. It used to run all the way through it, and I'm currently standing on its old route. This is the parish of Birdforth. Birdforth, Brideford. Next up in Hambleton we've got the village and parish of Birdforth. Not a place that's massively well known, but a lot of people that use the A19 will be familiar with this one. It sits on the A19 itself about 6 miles south of Thirsk. Birdforth is a very historic name, by the way. It was the name of one of the old wapentakes or subdivisions of the North Riding of Yorkshire, which covered the area around the village. It literally means bride ford, suggesting at one time the road that passed through it crossed a small beck by the church by way of a ford. Birdforth as a village today doesn't have a great deal. It used to have a school and a church, but both have now ceased their respective original operations. The church is managed by the CCT now after having closed due to a lack of attendance. The school, on the other hand, has had quite the storied past. When it closed in 1961, it was to be reimagined as a restaurant. It became a well-loved cafe and a shop too, full of little trinkets to tempt the punters as they travelled along the A19. Now though it's gone, leaving behind the shell of the old school as a private residence. In this one, we'll also get a look at the very historic Birdforth Hall, a £2.25 million complex of buildings which sit close to the route of the beck. They date back to 1685 and have since been greatly extended. Today they're in use as a group of holiday lets, the perfect place to base yourself for a weekend away exploring Harriet country. Birdforth might have altered a little since the turn of the 20th century, but it still has its rural character, even if the A19 is a whacking great modern addition. Let's go. So this is Birdforth as it was in 1900, and for the first time in a while we've hit on a village that looks massively different to how it does now. The biggest change here comes in the form of the roads. What you see here is one road that flies through the village before crossing the Birdforth beck. That road is still there, but now there's a second one too, running almost parallel to it. That would be the A19, and now it's that which crosses the historic Birdforth Bridge. The village, therefore, now sits on a loop of the old route, which you might think of as maybe a service road nowadays. It still provides access to the main landmarks. And they haven't really changed, save for the fact that the two main ones are no longer in use as they were on this map. Let's explain. You can split Birdforth up into two areas, north and south. The north has always been the more sparsely populated bit, but it does feature this school. Here you can see it sitting on the route of the old road. The school building still stands today, but there are no children in it. So this is what's become of the road. Once the main street of Birdforth village, this is now little more than just an access road, a loop off the main A19. The A19 deals with the through traffic now, meaning for the most part, Birdforth goes pretty much untouched by modern cars, vans and lorries. Sometimes when bypasses like this are built, it can have a detrimental effect on the villages they avoid. With Birdforth being so small, you'd have thought that to not be the case. You could argue though that having a bypass here does have an effect, and we can see that by way of the old school we've just seen on the map. This is the old school. It was built in the late 19th century, 1875 to be exact. It's an outstanding piece of Victorian architecture which has had a few names in its time. It was originally called Carlton Huthwaite Board School because you'll no doubt have noticed yesterday there was no school in that village. That's because it was here. It did eventually change its name to Birdforth County or Council School, reflecting its location here and not in Carlton Huthwaite. It closed as a school in 1961, but since then it's had quite a storied journey to get where it is today. As you can see, it's a private residence now. A lot of you that know the area might have expected this to look a little different if you've not been past in a while. You may even have been inside this building. In 2005, this was a restaurant called the Gables, but it morphed into something else called the Corner Cupboard. It was a cafe and a shop, and it was a really good place for food, ideal for travellers just passing through. On the inside, it was a warren-like building. You felt as though you'd been transported to a place akin to something out of Alice in Wonderland. Large ornate mirrors hung from every wall. There were silk cushions in alcoves, resting on pretty chairs, and sculptures of mini cherubs which smiled at you from white wire display stands. You needed a lot of willpower to leave without picking up a trinket from the lovely collection of furniture, home furnishings, and knickknacks that were on display. The Corner Cupboard was run by Peter and Gerd Hanley, who were once at the helm of the Abbey Inn at Byland. Now though, the Corner Cupboard is just a memory, and the large conservatory-like outhouse on its front facade, which it was well known for, has disappeared. It closed officially in 2019, although the process of winding up began 2 years prior. Now it's just another residence in an old school, but it's sorely missed by many. So yeah, proper thriving metropolis this, isn't it? It's the kind of place where you struggle to define if there is actually a centre. I suppose if there is a centre to Birdforth, it would be around Birdforth Bridge and the church which we're about to come to in the southern part of the village. Let's check it all out. Now we come to the south of the village, which has a lot more in the way of housing. That said, historically, Birdforth's population has only ever gotten as high as 42. It still remains less than 100 today, which may well have contributed in some small part to the closure of this church. Note too on this map the bridge over the beck and Birdforth Hall too. So here we have the church dedicated to St Mary. This is sometimes known alternatively as Birdforth Old Chapel. It's a former Anglican building which is now redundant, and as such it's currently under the care of the church's Conservation Trust. The church was declared redundant on the 1st of November 1975 and was vested into the trust 3 years later. The fabric of the church dates from the 12th century, although it has had some additions and alterations in the 16th, 17th, 18th and 19th centuries. Primarily made of stone rubble, it has a roof of interlocking tiles. Its plan is simple, consisting of a nave and a chancel. There's also a brick bellcote at the western end, the roof of which is pyramid-shaped, helping to give this church a bit of character. Internally, there's a round chancel arch. In the north wall of the chancel is a carved stone coat of arms, dated 1585. Also in the chancel is a 14th century tomb, the top of which is carved with a sword. The lectern dates from the 17th century and the pulpit from around 1700. The font is from the 12th century and consists of a circular tub on a later base, with a 17th century cover. Most of the Victorian features here were added in 1897 when the church was completely restored. They include the pews and the wrought iron communion rails. That was a restoration that took place despite the serving rector at the time thinking it wasn't worth spending money to restore Birdforth. He even called it a dilapidated old ruin. He wasn't popular, as you can imagine. Indeed, so few people attended his services that he called on parishioners to just walk to Carlton Huthwaite instead. His objections were ignored and Birdforth was restored, but eventually the church was declared redundant due to a lack of attendance. It's still a nice building though. Some 60 metres or so from the door of the church, the A19 flashes past, and in doing so it crosses Birdforth Bridge. It might be carrying the modern A19 these days, but Birdforth Bridge has been here for much longer than this road has existed. The proof of that can be found literally on it. This milepost on the northeastern side of the bridge is made of cast iron, as many were. It has a triangular plan and a sloping top. On each side are pointing hands. The left side is inscribed Birdforth and the right side is inscribed Bulmer West. That's because this wasn't just a milepost, it was a boundary marker. This is the first time we've seen Birdforth Beck, but it won't be the last. This flows west into the River Swale, running through some more villages we've yet to see. Anciently, this was never crossed by way of a bridge. Birdforth means Bride Ford, so this was literally a ford instead. The bride part of its name is a little sketchy as to its derivation, but being so close to the church, could that be the answer? So let's have a look at Birdforth Hall, or as close as we can get to it. This is, by some distance, the grandest property in the village. In 2021 it was on the market for £2.25 million, and included within the listing were 4 cottages and a swimming pool. Collectively known as Birdforth Hall and Cottages, it was all built in 1685 originally, before being extended in around 1900. It occupies a south-facing position within well-screened gardens and offers well-proportioned family accommodation with 6 first-floor bedrooms. Yes, it's well worth that massive price tag. The property retains period features including an oak-panelled drawing room, high ceilings and cornicing. And the best bit is, you can see some of this for yourself should you choose to stay here for a cheeky little weekend break. West of the house, the original brick farm buildings have been converted into 4 holiday cottages known as the Granary, Stable Cottage, Mill House and Byre Cottage. It's the perfect place to base yourself to explore the area, which tourism guides will tell you is often referred to as Heriot Country. So after making my way back up the A19 on foot, it was time for me to drive down it again to reach the final village in this week's run. The last one to visit this week will see us in a place that's effectively a square-shaped village with a church standing all on its own away to the east. See you there tomorrow. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.